Your settings greatly impact the way you play the game and how accurate and how good your movement can possibly be. And I got you guys taken care of to make sure you get the best possible settings. So let's get it here and give you guys the best possible settings to run here in Warzone. First thing being, of course, my aiming input device is going to be controller naturally. I play controller on PC. For any of you that want to see the controller I run a Scuff Envision, which has the 4 paddles in the back for my 4 face buttons. It's been my go-to controller for a while now. I quite like it, but let's get in here and give you guys the actual settings. Of course, it says my button layout is on tactical flipped. We can kind of expand this here real fast. I play on tactical flipped mainly just because I grew up playing on PlayStation and it just feels natural to me to use the top bumpers instead of my bottom, triggers. I think that just feels better to me. It allows for a quicker press in. Granted, everything on this controller that I have is going to be a mouse click, so it doesn't really have that sort of travel time. It just feels natural to me to use the top ones, so I have it on tactical flipped. But overall, I'd recommend for people to be playing on tactical. That way you can still do your slide canceling, so on and so forth. Let's actually go on down here though. Of course, my stick layout is going to be on default, and this is something that is a little bit interesting right here. You guys know that they did an update regarding our stick sensitivities, making it so that our overall sensitivities changed from like a 1 to a 20, from basically a 1 to like a 4.0 or whatever it is right now. Personally, not a big fan of this change. I actually run a 6.6 sensitivity, which realistically speaking probably is about a 1.42. But I play at a 1.4. I just kind of left it right here and it felt pretty good to me, so I haven't messed with it too much. But overall, if you guys are on a higher sensitivity and feel like you're missing too many of your shots, recommend to bring it down a little bit. The best players in the world, truthfully, play on a lower sensitivity. It's just kind of what they do. You want to play on something lower. So I'd recommend maybe try like a 6.6, aka 1.4, and you'll be good to go. Let's move on down here. Our simplified controls are off. Low motor strain is off. Bumper ping is off. And my swap LBRB with LTRT is going to be on because I play on tactical flip. So like I said, top triggers I use for aiming, shooting, and then my tactical and my lethal are my bottom ones. I find that to be better. I think it's something you guys should check out. My controller vibration is on, though I think it randomly is turned off for a while now, so that doesn't really matter on or off. It's literally up to you. It's not going to make that much of a difference. Your dead zones here, however, will make a large difference. So let's show you guys my dead zones. Of course, my dead zone on my left stick minimum is a 0. My right stick minimum is a 0. This is not necessary to be at a 0. I'd recommend, though, if it says at the default, what is it? I think a 10. You want to dial this back as much as possible. The reason being is because you get 10 degrees of movement on your stick where absolutely nothing registers in game, no movement happens, nothing at all, and that's not really the greatest. We want to make sure that we get maximum, input ability. So as soon as you move that stick, something actually registers in game, and it happens because if you're playing on console, there is a slight bit of a controller delay already. For those of you guys that play on PC that go back to console, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, want to make sure there's as minimal delay as possible, and having a right stick and left stick minimum at 0 will be the best for that. But keep in mind, if you have stick drift, it's not going to work out that good. So test your stick dead zone, see if you have stick drift. I really don't have any. I have like maybe 1 degree of stick drift, which is not bad. But just to outline this though, your left stick and right stick minimum, you want to dial this down as much as possible. The lower the better, largely speaking. So dial it down from like a 10 to a 7 to a 5 to a 3 to a 0 if possible. Do what works, what's comfortable for you. But let's move on here to our left stick max and our right stick max, because this does matter. So your left stick max, you know that basically when you're using your left stick, you're using that to move around, right? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to shrink the overall zone that our stick has to go in order to achieve maximum input, which meaning you're sprinting, you're going side to side. We don't need to have the full analog stick capabilities. We just need to have 60% of it. So we're going to do that. We're going to change it to 60%. Cuts off that little portion. So when I go over that threshold of that 60%, or like gets that point in my stick, that means that I've reached the full threshold. I will do my sprinting, etc., etc. It helps that kick in faster, helps move around quicker. But overall, you want to definitely dial that back to about 60. And your right stick max should stay at 99. Obviously, this is what you use for aiming. We don't want to cut this off in any way, shape, or form. We want to make sure our aim can be as fine-tuned as possible. We don't need to cut this off at all. And for those guys that are wondering my left trigger and right trigger, the only reason I have a dead zone on my triggers is just because these are mouse click triggers, and I find that if I have a 0 dead zone, it means that I start randomly stim shotting, randomly throwing throwing knives, or whatever my lethal or tactical is. if I don't have a dead zone. They're mouse click triggers and they're a bit sensitive, so I just have a dead zone there because it instantly clicks in anyways. It just stops them from auto clicking in by themselves. Now in the aiming tab, this is something you definitely want to pay attention to here, as this really makes a difference. We're going to go to the sensitivity multiplier, click that show more button, and really the only thing we need to pay attention to in here is your ADS sensitivity multiplier. Mine is a 0.70. The reason we have this at a 0.70 and not a 1.0 is I get a 0.7 of my 6.6 sensitivity, meaning that I can really slow down my aim when I'm aiming at somebody, and it makes it incredibly hard for me to come off target. You definitely want to make sure that you're hitting those shots, and this will be a great way to help ensure you hit more of your shots. So go ahead and dial this back to about like a 0.8, 0.9, even a 0.7, something like that. What I got, this works out great, but otherwise you don't really need to mess with any of these other settings. Just try dialing it back and you will see an improvement in your aim and your overall accuracy. Trust me on this one. Now let's go on down here. We're going to see our aiming advanced settings. We're going to go ahead and click on this. We're going to go through here, and this is absolutely huge too. Your ADS sensitivity transition timing, this by default will be on gradual. I personally don't like this. Maybe some people do, but if you go even look at the descriptions of it, it says instant sensitivity multiplier is applied immediately when aiming down sights, meaning that I get my full ADS sensitivity multiplier instantaneously when I ADS. It's not like a gradual ramp up. I don't need that. I want it to kick in instantly. So we have that, and I believe that'll help a lot less people break your camera angle and stuff like that when people are trying to slide around, bob and weave. It'll help it to be instant and have the correct sensitivity so you're able to track them properly. I don't believe you should have it on gradual or even after zoom. At that, do not go for after zoom. I would say to go for instant. Of course, down here, a lot of stuff doesn't really matter too much, but overall, your aim response curve type, I'll show you guys this one. I mean, it kind of does matter, but I have this on standard. I know a lot of people like standard or dynamic, and then if they start getting a little bit weird with it, they start messing around with dynamic and then messing with the slope curve, or basically the curve slope scale. We don't need to do any of that. That's just like way overkill. I mean, I'm like a 5 KD player here. Like, trust me, you don't need to do any of that. You just need to have like either on standard or dynamic, and whatever feels best for you, you want to rock with that. Linear, I'm not really sure I'd recommend it too much. I think standard and dynamic are the stickier of the three. So definitely go ahead and try those. And then, like I said about the curve slope scale, leave this at a 1.0. We don't need to mess with any of that, especially if you're on dynamic and you start lowering it down. That basically takes it from an S curve to making it like more flat. That makes it more linear as opposed to dynamic, so we don't want to do that. And of course, my custom sensitivity per zoom is just off. Back in the aiming tab, my target aim sensitivity is on, ADS aim assist is on, and then you don't really have to mess with any of this stuff in here, though I have clicked onto this and it's a little bit weird, but FOV sensitivity scaling, mine's turned on, though we don't mess with any of these motion sensor controls. Somehow, some way, being Warzone / Black Ops 6 is very buggy. It may actually help you out in your aim assist and your aim, so you can turn that on. If it's off, don't know if it really does a whole lot. To be honest with you, some people might notice a big difference. I personally don't notice much, but I just leave it on anyways, so that's that. Now we're getting into the movement tab. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give you guys the best settings here so you can move around properly. First being your sprint assist. This should be on tactical sprint assist. This is your automatic tac sprint. You want this to be on, and not just on, you want it to be tactical sprint assist, so you can move very, very easily. We want that. And we're gonna hit that show more, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the sprint delay down to 0. No sprint delay at all. I'm not a fan of any type of delays really in this game. Sprint assist sideways, you want to keep that on, and sprint assist backwards, you can keep that on. Makes it just a little bit easier, since sometimes it's a bit more tricky, but you can leave those on, be perfectly fine. Mantle assist, I keep this off, and I don't have any of this stuff really here on. I just keep my mantle assist angle tight. Don't know if that does a lot since everything is off, but I keep it tight anyways. Crouch assist, that's off. Corner slice is off. Not going to make a big difference if you want to have it on or off. If you've gotten really used to it, keep it on. It's not like it's going to really throw you off. I personally don't find a need for it, so I just keep it off. Slide dive behavior is going to be on tap to slide. That is necessary to slide cancel and do everything properly to hit all your movement. We're not trying to like go crazy and YY, but slide canceling does really help out. So we're going to go ahead and do that with tap to slide. We're going to hit that show more, and our slide/dive activation delay is going to be on short. What this does is that means that whenever you hold in your right stick, if you're playing on tactical, to go ahead and hit that dive or slide animation, whenever you hold it in, it's going to be very, very short, in order to be able to hit that dive. So let's say you're trying to dive off a rooftop and pull your parachute to glide a little bit farther. That way you can get that activation very quickly and you don't have to sprint for a longer duration of time and hold this in for a longer duration of time. We want it to be on short. Moving on down here though, basically this is pretty all standard stuff. I haven't really messed with a whole lot. We can go into our movement advanced settings here real quick. Basically this is just all standard stuff that I really haven't had to mess with too much. And really that's going to be that for the movement tab. Now on the combat tab, this is going to make a big difference for a lot of guys out there. Now our aim down sight behavior is just going to be on hold, which is what it comes standard as. We're going to move on down here. We can see that pretty much your armor plate behavior is an important setting. We want that on apply all. We can see apply one, apply all, choose apply all. That means when you get all of your plates, you can just hold down the button, and as soon as it starts doing the animation, it will continuously do the animation, which is quite nice. You may still feel more inclined to hold down the button anyways, but it is still nice to have this on here. It does like come in handy. We're going to move on down here to our combat advanced settings though, and this is another couple things here that can make a big difference. First one being your interact/reload behavior. Right in here, we want this to be on prioritize interact. What this does is it makes it so that we can pick up guns very, very quickly. If you've watched any of my gameplay, you'll know that I'm able to loot super quick. And it does help that I do have a scuff controller, so I don't have to take my thumbs off of my sticks to loot. I can use one of my back paddles to go ahead and pick up guns. That's pretty nice. But overall, even for the average person that doesn't have a scuff controller, prioritize interact is necessary. If you're playing multiplayer, tap to reload. But overall, prioritize interact is where it's at. Sprint cancels reload. We want this to be off. When you have this on, it makes the game feel real buggy, real weird. And especially because your automatic tack sprint kicks in and you got your dead zones really low and we have everything set up the way we do, we don't need the sprint to cancel reload. We can keep that going. It does help out when you're trying to get away from somebody, being that the reloads aren't the absolute fastest and there's no sleight of hand in this version of Warzone. It is pretty nice to have. Your akimbo behavior should just be on independent, and this can be pretty much right where it's at otherwise. Just a little tip and trick here. I'm not going to go over a bunch of other settings, but this is going to be in the interface tab. This is going to make your game look a lot better. So now that you're able to hit your shots more, it's also better to be able to see people. So we're going to help you at least see people a bit better, which is the interface tab. We're going to go over to readability, scroll all the way down here to color customization, and we're going to click on this. What we're going to do is we're going to go in here. It says HUD color palette. We can keep that on default. You don't have to change this if you don't want to. I mean, if you want to, I mean, A, B might be your guest. But anyways, we're gonna go on down here, and this is what really matters. So color filter target, you want this to be on filter 2. Color filter target, you want this to be on both, not world or interface. You want it to be on both. And then your world color intensity should be at 100, and your interface color intensity should also be at 100. This is gonna make your game look significantly more vibrant, and overall, it will be a lot better for you guys to play the game. So I recommend that. I don't have any NVIDIA filters, any extra filters on my computer. This is all I got, minus a little bit of minor CC in my recording software, but that's not something I see in game. I only see what's on my actual screen. And so this is all I see, and it just makes the game look so much better. That being said, that's my full settings. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, check out these other videos on screen, and I'll see you all next time.